MrBeast is the king of social media, but what if he took his talents to WWE? Well, this is the story of MrBeast and WWE. So let's set up this hypothetical timeline where he joins. Shout out to Med, who did this in NBA 2K, but I want to do it in WWE 2K. His video and his channel will be in the description, so let's jump in. So now we're done with WrestleMania 40. We have brand new champions, the ending of eras, AEW airing CM Punk's footage. So yeah, things have changed a lot. However, after WrestleMania 40, MrBeast signs with the WWE for millions of dollars in a 4-year contract. This kind of signing goes viral all over social media, and MrBeast has become a WWE superstar. Despite MrBeast being a megastar on social media, he does have some issues. Number 1, he is not trained in professional wrestling. And number 2, he is not a super athlete like Logan Paul is. Another issue for MrBeast could be the fact that he doesn't really know how to cut a promo. He knows how to make a great video, but being able to cut a promo in front of a crowd of tens of thousands is a lot different than just filming a YouTube video on a set. So the transition is going to take some time. So rather than debuting MrBeast on the main roster immediately, they decided to put him in the Performance Center to train him up. Now we fast forward to the month of July. MrBeast has been in the PC training for months now, and they're looking to make his debut at SummerSlam. Now, of course, it's time to find an opponent for MrBeast who would step up. And it's none other than The Miz. So what happened to The Miz? Well, The Miz and R-Truth lost their World Tag Team titles on an episode of Raw, and The Miz turned heel on him, blaming him for not only losing the championships, but also for taking him down the card. Now that The Miz has rid himself of R-Truth, he's looking to get back in the spotlight for SummerSlam, a big payday, big match, and The Miz ends up being Jimmy's first opponent. The Miz isn't taking MrBeast seriously at all, and treats him like a complete joke, as The Miz sees this as an easy way to get back in the WWE title picture and beyond. Maybe main event WrestleMania again? No. But can Jimmy pull off a major upset at the biggest party of the summer? And it's time for MrBeast's first wrestling match on a big stage like SummerSlam against a veteran who's looking for his last shot in the main event in The Miz. The Miz dominates the match early on, just showing the inexperience of Jimmy. But Jimmy's able to come back and nails a punch right in the head that almost knocks The Miz out cold. MrBeast calls up The Miz to go for something, but then Miz kicks him down a peg and once in the head. The Miz calls Jimmy up and connects with the skull-crushing finale. He goes for the cover, but MrBeast somehow kicks out of it, and The Miz goes into the corner thinking what he has to do. He knows exactly what he has to do. He has to go for that running knee, but Jimmy catches him with some punches. Jimmy goes to the top and hits a Molly go-round to pick up a shock win against The Miz. MrBeast picks up an upset at SummerSlam against a veteran like The Miz. A good debut, at least for him. Except critics and wrestling fans, because Jimmy gets raked over the coals online for his wrestling ability or inexperience. And after rewatching the match, Jimmy agreed that he wasn't at that level of a WWE superstar. But to be fair, he's a guy with no experience and not being a super athlete like Logan Paul, having to get ready for a match in 5 months. Despite his lack of experience, WWE were impressed enough that they keep him around. But he would decide to stay off television for the remainder of the year, focusing on his brand and his channel more so. While it may seem kind of weird to only wrestle one match in your first year, this choice would prove to be a wise choice, as Jimmy would be able to return the next year in a big way as a better wrestler overall. It's the new year, it's January, you know what that means. Royal Rumble hype time. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna be in? We don't know, but it's a star-studded affair, and in the case of MrBeast, he's ready to make his return to the company after being gone since SummerSlam. Main event rolls around, and in the Royal Rumble match, MrBeast enters at number 20, and ends up having a great showcase in the match. Drew McIntyre then enters at number 25 and comes face to face with the YouTuber, and to the shock of everyone, MrBeast counters a Claymore into a Beast Bomb and clotheslines Drew out of the match, scoring his first and only elimination in the match. Drew is pissed that he just got eliminated by a YouTuber, and poor Drew's 2024 was pretty rough. CM Punk tormenting Drew throughout the entire year, and Drew would finally be able to rid himself of his bad luck with world titles, only to lose another world title opportunity to a freaking YouTuber. Jimmy doesn't win the match, shocker I know, and Dwayne Johnson wins the match, probably, and goes to fight Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania 41. But this elimination would set Jimmy up for his first WrestleMania match. WWE would capitalize on MrBeast's performance in the Rumble by putting him in the Elimination Chamber. Gunther, who's been champion since SummerSlam after defeating Damian Priest, has been dominating the main event scene on Raw, and is now defending it in Elimination Chamber against the best of Raw. Drew would also get snubbed when it came to the Chamber, and this is when Drew had enough, and at Elimination Chamber, Drew McIntyre obliterated MrBeast and took them both out of the Chamber and action indefinitely. Drew McIntyre comes out on Monday Night Raw and explains why he did what he did. He says, "A lot of people are wondering why I did what I did. You might call it sour grapes, but I'm tired of being screwed over. Being eliminated by a YouTuber in the Royal Rumble is one of the most embarrassing moments in my entire career. I am a former world champion, intercontinental champion, tag team champion, and being eliminated by MrBeast, who's only had one match against a C-list celebrity in The Miz, drove me crazy. I already had to deal with CM Punk last year. Now I gotta deal with this clown. So yeah, I wanted to get my hands on Jimmy and embarrass him at WrestleMania. So Jimmy, if you want to step up to the plate, I'm gonna embarrass you at WrestleMania if you try." Out of the crowd, MrBeast comes out and then hits him with the pop-up Beast Bomb. And after that, MrBeast tells Drew McIntyre, "You want your match? You got it. Do not underestimate me. I might be a YouTuber and might have had one match, but at WrestleMania I'm going to prove everyone wrong that I deserve to be here." WrestleMania time. In the middle of the card, we have Drew McIntyre taking on MrBeast. MrBeast's first WrestleMania match. Drew McIntyre starts off the match dominating and just beating the crap out of MrBeast, and then he tries to finish him off early with a Claymore kick, but Jimmy kicks out of that. So Drew gets pissed off and just pummels Jimmy even more. However, Jimmy is able to trip up Drew McIntyre, which gives Jimmy the ultimate opportunity, and he hits his Beast Powerbomb. But he only gets a 2 count. So MrBeast then gets Drew out of the ring and hits a massive suicide dive. It looks like Jimmy is actually going to pull off the unthinkable and defeat Drew McIntyre. However, Jimmy is slow to get back in the ring, and this gives McIntyre the opening he needs. Glasgow Kiss, sets up in the corner, Claymore kick, pins him for the 3. Drew McIntyre wins at WrestleMania. Despite Jimmy putting on a surprisingly good performance, in the end, Drew McIntyre picks up the W. MrBeast decides to take a sabbatical after WrestleMania and decides to come back after Night of Champions at the end of May. The next pay-per-view is Money in the Bank, and MrBeast is looking to have his first Money in the Bank ladder match, so he wants to be in the match. General Manager Adam Pearce decides that, look, if you want to be in the ladder match, you're going to have to earn your shot like everybody else. I don't care if you're the biggest YouTuber of all time. If you want to get a match, you got to earn it. So, 2 weeks later, MrBeast fights somebody. I don't know. Let's put him against Rey Mysterio, because that's kind of cool. And MrBeast ends up defeating Rey Mysterio and getting him a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Maybe he'll become Money in the Beast? At Money in the Bank, MrBeast is going for broke. He shows up and shows out. And MrBeast does a superplex off the top of the ladder and then gets superplexed himself. In the end, MrBeast looks to win the match, but then another social media megastar runs up the ladder, knocks him off, and costs him the briefcase. It's Logan Paul. And in the end, Ilya Dragunov wins the Money in the Bank briefcase thanks to the help of Logan Paul. And now we got YouTuber wrestling drama. Speaking of Logan Paul, let's talk about him. Logan Paul at this point is already established as a star in the company who's had a hell of a run so far. Been US champion and carried it, but came up short at WrestleMania 41. Logan's not a fan of MrBeast. It feels like he hasn't earned his keep. Even though their careers in this company are identical at this point, but you know what? It's Logan Paul, and he's kind of a hypocrite anyway, so... When it's time for SummerSlam, Logan Paul, MrBeast, battle of the social media megastars. Logan Paul, cocky as ever, taunting MrBeast, but MrBeast goes to the top rope to go for a clothesline. Logan Paul dodges it, and then tries to roll him up for a 3. MrBeast kicks out of it, and then immediately catches him, throws him in the air, Beast Bomb, goes for the cover, but Logan kicks out. Logan goes to the outside to recover, and it looks like Jimmy forgets to do a suicide dive or something. This gives Logan Paul the opportunity to get back in the ring, hit him with a couple of body shots, and then a KO blow punch. Goes to the cover, but Jimmy kicks out of it. Logan Paul taunts Jimmy once again, but it backfires tremendously as Jimmy is able to hit a series of punches onto him, a Beast Cutter, and one more Beast Powerbomb for the 3. MrBeast defeats Logan Paul at SummerSlam. After SummerSlam, both guys would go on their separate ways, and MrBeast on a post-conference says that he believes he's getting better, he's feeling better in the ring, and he's having a blast doing this, and he wants to continue. After SummerSlam, MrBeast does take another break to focus on his brand and his channel. I mean, that part-time gig is pretty good. However, something is different. In one of his videos, I don't know, he went to space or something, probably, he reveals on his YouTube video that he is coming back to the WWE at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel. He will be challenging the United States Championship. The current champion is Carmelo Hayes, who defeated LA Knight at WrestleMania 41. Both of these men, while newer to the sport than some other people on the roster, put on a great match. MrBeast showing that his experience is starting to catch up with him, while Carmelo proves why he's one of the best in the ring. However, it ends when Carmelo goes for a move, but MrBeast counters into a jawbreaker, and then springboard Beast cutters him, nails it for the 3, and that's it. MrBeast becomes the United States Champion, winning his first championship in the WWE. So yeah, at the end of the year, MrBeast becomes the United States Champion, and after his win at Crown Jewel, Jimmy would hold the title throughout the rest of the year. His second year ended with his first WrestleMania match, a Money in the Bank ladder match, a win against Logan Paul, and winning his first championship. Not a bad year, to be honest. MrBeast decides to pull double duty. He'll be defending the United States Championship at the Royal Rumble and also competing in the match. He's kind of getting risky because he's going for both. He is able to retain the United States Championship, and he enters the Royal Rumble at number 5. He ends up doing really well, getting a few eliminations, but then finally getting eliminated by Drew McIntyre of all people. And Drew gets his revenge by eliminating MrBeast. Not only that, but Drew McIntyre ends up winning the entire Royal Rumble and is going to WrestleMania to challenge Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. But that's a story for another day. We're talking about MrBeast here. With MrBeast holding the United States Championship throughout the road to WrestleMania, who is his opponent? Well, it's none other than the megastar himself, LA Knight, who lost his championship last year at WrestleMania 41 and is looking to get back the championship that he lost. Looking for his redemption arc. And LA Knight basically says, you think you're going to beat the megastar of the WWE? No. While you have fought many challengers since winning that championship, you have not faced off against the megastar of WWE, and no one can touch me. I went from the bottom of the barrel to the top of the mountain, and at WrestleMania, I'm finally going to have my moment on the grand stage, and by the end of the match, I will celebrate as champion with everybody saying... At WrestleMania, LA Knight challenges for the United States Championship one more time against MrBeast, the current champion. LA Knight's looking for some redemption after losing it the prior year. And LA Knight and MrBeast put on a good match. And LA Knight is able to pick up the win and defeat MrBeast, ending his United States Championship reign at a good 6 months. Not a bad reign for MrBeast, and he's probably been all over social media with it, so good press for World Wrestling Entertainment. With MrBeast doing the job at WrestleMania to LA Knight, he leaves once again and comes back at Night of Champions. And he decides to go for the biggest dog in the yard. He goes for broke. As MrBeast decides to lay down a challenge against the Tribal King himself, Roman Reigns, who has just come off of WrestleMania 42, defeating The Rock in the main event, solidifying his status as the Tribal King of WWE. And now, WWE does realize that with Roman Reigns basically having one foot out the door and MrBeast's contract halfway done, this is probably the one time they'll ever be able to do this match between MrBeast and Roman Reigns. So they take advantage of it, and in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, MrBeast fights Roman Reigns. MrBeast has gotten really good at this wrestling game and really brought it to the Tribal Chief, pulling out a Beast Bomb, Beast Go Round. But Roman is able to pick up the win with a spear, and MrBeast, despite losing, looked great, and his stock is just going up in the company. Rather than competing in the Money in the Bank ladder match again, he'd instead challenge for the WWE Championship, currently held by Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes has been champion since WrestleMania 40, and Cody is glad to take on MrBeast, especially seeing how much a non-athlete has been able to improve and get good at this game. While this is also billed as an attraction match, Cody says that Jimmy gets one shot at this, and if he loses, he's have to go back to the line. another once-in-a-lifetime match between Cody Rhodes and, yeah, MrBeast is really going hog wild with these matches. Roman, Cody, what's next? The Rock. MrBeast again puts on a good match, but Cody Rhodes hits a crossroads to end MrBeast's aspirations of being a WWE champion. But disaster strikes. MrBeast suffers a debilitating injury that puts him on the shelf. This is demoralizing and sad, as Jimmy was really starting to get this down, but this injury would end up being a torn ACL, which would not only keep him out of the ring, but also affect his content, as he would have to adjust what he did for the foreseeable future. MrBeast is out of action for the remainder of the year, and his year has ended just like that. This injury would really cause Jimmy to really reflect on his time in wrestling and whether he should come back at all or just walk away entirely. It's an injury that has affected his content and his brand, and he's already done a lot in his short time. But he decides to finish things out, finish out his deal, and then go from there. And after nearly a year of being gone, MrBeast has been cleared at the beginning of April, which was a few weeks before WrestleMania 43. MrBeast makes his return at WrestleMania 43, proclaiming that he is ready to come back and notes his contract is coming up next year. His one goal is to become world champion, and if he cannot do so, then he really needs to reconsider being in WWE in the first place. He wrestles his first match back at Backlash 2027 against Braun Breaker, who's been on the roster for quite a while and has already won multiple mid-card championships. Braun Breaker ends up destroying him for a bit and looks to end Jimmy's night with a spear, but Jimmy counters it after countering it into a spear into a roll-up and gets a shock pin over Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker can't believe what the hell just happened, and the ref's telling him that was a 3. So MrBeast returns and gets a W. Of course, Braun Breaker is pissed about it and tries to break MrBeast by throwing him through a freaking car window like a mad lad. So they decide to have one more match at Clash at the Castle. After defeating Braun Breaker and getting a clean win over him, MrBeast decides to focus on the Money in the Bank briefcase. He earns a shot at the Money in the Bank ladder match and is now going back to the match that he wants to win, as it's the easiest way to get a guaranteed title match whenever he wants. Despite MrBeast going through the ringer in the Money in the Bank ladder match, he ends up winning the match after he knocks Trick Williams off the ladder, grabs the briefcase, and MrBeast has become Mr. Money in the Bank, pretty much virtually guaranteeing him a World Championship match whenever he wants. The question is, what path will he take? Will he try to do it the honorable way, or the more heelish way by just waiting for the opportunity? Despite winning the briefcase, he doesn't really explain his decisions on what he wants to do with it. And he decides to have another banger year in 2027. He takes on Ilya Dragunov at SummerSlam, Cody Rhodes again at Crown Jewel, and even competes in his first ever War Games match. He loses to Dragunov at SummerSlam, loses to Cody Rhodes again, and wins the War Games match for his team. I don't know what the story would be at this point, but it would be something, I guess. Maybe Drew McIntyre got sick of him again and he wants to fight him, who knows. And MrBeast finally made his return to the ring, and 2027 proved to be a pretty good year for him. He's the Money in the Bank, he had big profile matches, first War Games, and going into 2028 is kind of do or die. It's 2028 and we have 3 months left in Jimmy's contract. So on the beginning episode of Raw in the new year, MrBeast comes out and makes a bold statement. The Money in the Bank briefcase that he's held onto since July, he's cashing that in at WrestleMania. He's taken the ultimate opportunity of a lifetime to cash in for a world championship at the grandest stage. Jimmy basically says that whoever wins the Royal Rumble, whichever championship they challenge for, I will use this briefcase to cash in and get a championship opportunity against the other one. Now it's 2028, so things are really dicey, so I don't know who and what would be the champion, but I'm just going to make an assumption that Braun Breaker is the WWE champion and Ilya Dragunov is the World Heavyweight Champion. So Trick Williams wins the Royal Rumble, I guess, because it's really tough to really determine this shit, you know? It's 4 years. All we can do is make assumptions. So MrBeast will be challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship as Trick Williams goes to fight Braun Breaker at WrestleMania. MrBeast will end up fighting whoever the World Heavyweight Champion is. So Elimination Chamber, Ilya Dragunov, I guess, is defending the World Heavyweight Championship. And you know what, just for shits and giggles, let's just say that Drew McIntyre is the World Heavyweight Champion again. Why not? You know? At this point, he's like, what, in his mid-40s? So maybe this is his last ride. So in this scenario, MrBeast is challenging Drew McIntyre, the guy he had with his first WrestleMania match years ago. So it's kind of a poetic end for MrBeast. Basically, he goes for broke. Drew McIntyre, the World Heavyweight Champion, versus MrBeast, who has basically said that if he can't win this, then he doesn't know where to go as a champion. He doesn't know where to go as a professional wrestler. This might be his last ride. And in this WrestleMania rematch, who wins? Who comes out on top? And just for a fairy tale ending, MrBeast ends up winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, whatever the fuck this is. Becoming the World Heavyweight Champion, being the king of YouTube, and also being on top of the wrestling world. But with MrBeast winning the World Heavyweight Championship, he signs his new contract that goes on until probably the 2030s. And at this point is where we're going to end the video, because I am not going to predict anything else that happens past 2028. Are you kidding me? And that is the story of MrBeast being a WWE superstar. Thanks for watching, everyone, and take care.